Oh,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's poker coaching study session. Today, we're going to be studying about poker. So let's go.
well played, mate. Well played.
Nice
Uh,
skate.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you.
this is definitely going well. Um, so today, guys, I thought we'd start with some work on the trainer. That sounds good. So this is, classic spot that we all see. SRP playing a hand out of position. So usually our villain will be in button, but sometimes they'll show up in cutoff. And sometimes they'll show up in hijacks because it's set to 500 NL and there's some in the GTO Wizard uh, ranges. There are very few, but a couple flats in these positions. So, should we rock and roll?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So, kings here. Interesting flop. What do you guys want to do?
This would probably be a very highly bet C bet flop
Yeah.
uh, for a small size, and I think kings are going to be well within that range. I don't know if it would be considered a range bet though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either. Why don't, well, after this, we'll look at the ranges real quick. The ranges that we're working with
Well, to
after this hand.
play
I
it
think that. I'm sorry. Go
to
ahead.
play it safe, it is very rare when we get range bets out of position.
True.
Yeah, I think it's like. I think it's like 60% check.
How,
But
however,
this,
a paired
but
ace board, I'm not sure that this may be one of those rare ones.
that's what I was thinking. This board in particular, I think, is going to really drive up our frequency.
Okay, let's start with, okay, I think, and also the other thing to think about is that I think oftentimes our bets are small, broadly out of position in an SRP. So let's start with the small bet. That was exciting. Okay, let's do this.
What was the thing? It didn't stop to show the result.
What do you mean?
Like you know how after you click the button, it shows you the results.
Maybe because it was a fold. We'll see what happens in the next hand.
Well, no, after you. All right.
Okay, so here's our opening range, right? 17% of hands, pretty tight. But the more interesting thing I think here is how condensed this calling range is in Solverline. I mean, I would guess that the majority of users' flooding range here is composed of maybe half of these hands as well. So I would say we're like maybe 10%, 12% with a much more linear three betting range. What do you guys think?
Take off the filter so I can. No, it's kind of polarized. Because I think King 5, King 6 are like you see the hands that start having a little more calls: 7, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 6, 5 suited, 5, 4 suited. They are better than the King 6, King 5.
Like more EV.
In well, also in playability too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, these are mostly three bets, right?
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think my point is that
It's also kind of mergy in the middle too.
It is. It's hard to find people that are gonna have these three bets. This region, I think, is where people miss their three bets. Right around here. I don't think people find these. But yeah, we'll just keep this in mind.
And by people, you mean like the general pool? Yeah, absolutely. Like
Yeah,
they're
population.
not going to three bet the suited aces and kings up there either. Like the pool isn't
Here,
up
like
in
these less like
yeah,
these.
they're not going to be through betting those for king jack suited down.
Let's just real quick,
The region you circled.
let's think about what, a more recreational three bet range is. So I think it's here. Maybe we can even cut out, let's do this. I think it's probably
Well,
more actually this.
pairs too.
Here. And what else? And then queens probably.
Queens, jacks.
And
Now, things that some people get are ace queens and weaker pair. I played against some people that will three bet any pair, and that's obviously a mistake. But their thinking is, I have a pair. I'm probably ahead right now.
if I had to guess what a recreational three betting range is, I think it's probably something like this. Maybe you can even cut out ace five suited. But it probably resembles that.
Yeah, I agree. And then calling just a ton more, like all
Yeah.
that, everything you see there in green plus more calls.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the result is that, when we do, well, if the result on both ends, a hand with an SRP, we can expect them to show up with. I think the most delineating factor is what we can expect their range to be in a three bet pot. And the answer is something I think more like this. But, they're gonna have stronger hands across any kind of SRP as well. So, anyway, all right, let's go see some more.
Just here out of curiosity,
We didn't look at any post flop on this hand.
He folded.
right, but
Yeah.
let's look at
What's
let's look at the frequencies and stuff.
What's our C bet range?
Okay, we can do that. Do you want to look at? Oh, there's one. Always small bets. We don't, yeah, we bet a lot here. We like this. We like this flop. And it makes sense because there is no clear nut advantage to imposition. And yeah, who has more trips, I think is another question. As a percentage of range. Again, I'm beginning to think this is important. Here, when we filter for trips, we just have twice as much as a percentage of range. And I would think that drives our strategy, our high bet strategy here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking on paired ace. Can we check some? Is this across the board or is it paired ace Broadway that we get a ton of bets? Like do something like ace 5. See if we. Just anything other than a Broadway. No, our frequency's still pretty high.
Yeah.
I think ace king, we're still going to have a lot of bets.
Yeah, so we just love this flop.
I think if we make it ace queen, our bets start going down maybe.
True.
Does button ever have ace king in a calling range?
No, what happens is the button's range,
Yeah, so there is some ace king there.
yeah, but it's pretty well devoid of the best kings. Because even look at his best kings, he three bets them. Like he doesn't call any of the stronger kings 100%. He three bets them frequently, where we have all the best kings 100%. So when a
And
king is on the board, the button is usually having a hard time defending against that.
yeah, and I was talking specifically when the flop was an ace queen flop, and our frequency went like way down compared to ace king, which we knew would happen. And I was just wondering if the fact that the button does maintain some ace kings there, that has a lot to do with it.
Oh, I see. Point. Yeah, it might be.
Well, he has a little, but not where we'll have 16 combos. I think he might have what, maybe 4
Of what, of ace queen or
ace king. Like when you put it together,
yeah.
combined.
Well, we can look at who has top pair. So we have top pair twice as often as a percentage of range. And he's lacking the very best. So we got kind of a picker
Oh, wait,
advantage too, I guess.
no, this is top pair's an ace.
Yeah, I was just looking at top pair.
No,
Um,
we were looking for ace when it was ace king 5.
do we want to look at the ace king 5 flop? Look, it has more two pair. Includes ace 5, obviously, but do this.
Oh wow, I would click on clear and click on strategy real quick. I just want to see what our overall range is doing with the 2. It's still, oh, but we're betting just as often pretty much, but we get some bigger bets in there now too.
Yeah. So if it's two pair here, yeah, we're doing pretty well. That's top pair, sorry. Two pair. Yeah, he doesn't, he has it. We have it twice as often, but he does have a representation of ace king. All right, should we go next hand?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Now in the trainer, go to the settings and there should be a thing to stop after action. I
Okay.
think that's clicked
Let's
off.
see if it doesn't do it this time, and then if it doesn't do it, we'll make that change. What do you guys want to do here?
I think it's going to be similar. I think, but not quite as much. But I'm thinking we're betting in small, and we're betting in the 60% range with this hand. Yeah, oh yeah, even with this hand.
Yeah, this is what we want to see. Yeah, so this hand is good enough. I mean, not this hand, this range is good for us. Actually, we're betting pure here. Look at this. Range bet. 1% checks. Okay, so we bet. He raises.
I
I
mean,
don't really see any reason to stick around here.
no, it seems like a clear, easy fold.
Yep.
Ace jack would be a call. Ace 10 would be a call. Ace 10 of clubs.
Yeah,
Well, ace 10 and higher all have gut
Yeah,
shots too.
right. That's why I'm wondering if ace 10 is an easy call or is it mixed? Is it?
so we bet small. He raises. What percentage of his range is raising? This is well, this is it's pretty common. I wonder if in Solverland, when we have a range bet, like we do here, if that increases in positions raising range, as they clearly aware that it's their betting range. So I wonder if there's a correlation between our out of position betting frequency and buttons raising frequency. And I would imagine there is. Okay, so when he raises here, what's our? So yeah, so we're 50-50 here.
And the ace 10 and the ace jack do call pure.
And all of them, yeah.
Oh, ace jack of clubs and ace 10 of clubs do have some mixing and folding.
You know. Do some interesting things with our gut shots here sometimes. Okay. Next hand. Low frequency open. A good flop. I think we could. I think we can
Yeah.
go ahead. Range bet this. Not range bet. I think we can bet this combo here.
I think so too. And I'm wondering, so we just saw this. We saw ace king 5 and twos were in there and they were betting. But does the 3 broadways make it better for us, or does it make us want to check a little bit more than we did before?
Well, there's lockdown equity. I think we're gonna check at a higher frequency with range. I think we're gonna have more checks.
I think twos can check. I'm not sure though. I'd probably check in game.
You do either. Man. Get destroyed today. Want to see what our betting frequency is on this spot?
Well, if twos were checking 40% of the time, I'm thinking we're globally going to be betting in the 70% range. 60.
Pretty
65.
close. So. Across the entire range, we're betting, except for very,
Oh,
our
can
total
you
misses, we can give up on.
can you highlight the twos real quick?
Sure.
I just want to
Gonna-
see if it's a
Gonna check the
suited.
spades.
Yes, spades are betting more.
Spades and hearts, but if you don't have a spade or a heart, you check the
You
most.
check most. So it is sort of suit derived with the lower pairs. Yeah, all down. The spades and hearts want to bet more all the way down.
Yeah, I think the takeaway I would have to simplify is we have a spade, we bet more. Even though it's a very slim chance to improve, it's enough to bet more.
Yeah, they're all kind of borderline, but having that extra 2% pushes it a little bit the other way.
This hand's a little spicy on his part, right? He's turning a marginal hand on an intimidating board to kind of a semi bluff.
Wonder what the frequency of that is. I wonder if that's just
I was thinking the same thing
looking.
myself.
Yeah, the RNG says 4, so that's going to be. It could be very low frequency.
I was wondering the same thing. All right, we bet here. Let's look at this bet combo. Yeah, it's
Pretty high.
half the time.
But Jack, yeah, but his hand is about half the time. Yeah.
All right, now I think, what do you guys think?
Check range.
Yeah, I think this is a
No,
pure check.
there's a 2. I'd probably bet this combo.
Okay, I think we're gonna check.
Maybe 50%.
Let's have a vote.
Well, it's not that connected. I think we can have some betting here, but it's probably going to be mixed of mostly checking.
Okay, we'll go check this time.
Yeah, kind of almost pure.
Yeah.
All right, we didn't improve. We have a
Now we
smidgen of
check.
showdown. I don't see the 9 as shifting much equity. I think we probably check again.
Yeah, I would be checking.
Yeah.
See how much percentage of betting. None. Okay. You can
Tiny.
see the range bets.
All right, we turn our ace high to a bluff with an attempt to fold sevens, eights, tens.
No, I think it's strong enough to check and showdown.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no action.
Great. Okay. Next hand. Do you guys want to do everybody takes a turn at a couple?
Sure. I like
Okay.
that.
Mike, you want to do a couple?
Okay, I'll take a few.
This
All
is
right.
always a perplexing spot for me.
I think this hand itself is going to check most of the time. Our range will probably, I don't know, check a ton as well. 40% or betting 40%, checking 60. I mean, checking now. You can hit the check button for this hand. I'm curious about what our overall global is, though. Yeah, so it looks like around
82% check,
yeah, okay.
which is interesting. Well, I think these ace high boards are, I think we naturally think is the RFI or these ace high boards are better for us, but I really don't think that's the case. I think that's kind of a misnomer, if you would. I'm just gonna look at range real quick, range versus range, because I'm curious about this. Like, I think our instinct is, or at least mine sometimes is, oh, it's got an ace on the board and I'm the one that RFI'd. Oh, I'm gonna bet this, but that's not the case. And I think if you look at range versus range, yeah, it's just, we do have somewhat of a advantage
Yeah, but
in solver land, but not really.
our value betting starts around the 65th percentile, and that's kind of where it closes up.
Are you talking about at the 56th percentile on the linear equity
No,
graph?
yeah, 65th percentile.
Okay.
So we have a advantage right there, and in the middle of the range, but as we go up to like 70 percentile, where it matters the most, they start merging.
Okay, well, I think that's a very interesting take, and let's just, yeah. I think what's happening here is that I think that our equity in hand is driving our betting patterns more in later streets, but I think on the flop often, what's happening is that we have an action overall, and we're doing that across a large part of our range, right? As ranges become more defined, the perceived equity of our hand in range versus range becomes more important to our betting pattern. But on flop, and we'll see this a lot, usually our global is spread across the entire range.
Well, even if we check range, the button will still filter his range by either betting or checking.
Yes,
Even if buttons check filters his range because it caps him at that point.
check, check.
All right. Fact that this brings in some locked up equity here. I mean, it shouldn't complete anything for him, but it certainly doesn't allow us to bet big. But I think we can value bet or check. And the size, if we did, I'd continue checking here. I'd take the check button, but I'm sure it's 100%. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, yeah. It's an interesting card.
Yeah, now we have marginal made hand.
Now, if
Okay.
this was against pool and I get to this river, I'm value betting. But against the solver, I feel like we should still check.
He's gonna have enough traps that we need to check.
I'm thinking now maybe we can go for thin value and bet like 2.
Yeah, I would definitely bet against pool. But against the solver, I think we still check a lot. Half and 50-50, yeah. All right. I'm gonna check. I'd probably be checking range here. So I'm checking this hand. It's a lot more betting than I thought there would be.
Yeah. I don't know if we call that a bluff or equity denial. Let's look real quick. What's ace three have for equity here?
Well, it has a pair on a paired board. Any pair on a paired board is strong.
Just because there are less pairs, because it's a paired board?
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
well, it's
So-
kind of mergy.
This is a trick I learned. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I think if you click here, click the combo, and you go to breakdown. Yeah, it shows you where it falls in the equity, right? So this is 100% equity, this is 0. It's right in the middle, right here.
Yeah, I would think it needs to be a bit higher to do a value bet.
Um. yeah, Um. So we check, that's fine.
And I'd love when we're done with this hand just to see if it's not a two-tone board, how that changes it. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Check, check.
Uh, I would still continue to take the check line in game here, just knowing how I play. Don't know if that's correct now, but I think it seems to be more likely to check now that we've checked.
Yeah, I think generally, I mean, we do have showdown here. I think we're interested mostly in getting yeah, mostly interested in getting the showdown. You got a boat, dude.
Yeah, but there's better boats out there that can take this line with.
Yeah, your
Do I
boat
want
has
him?
kind of like a broken electric engine as opposed to
What do I
six
want him?
outboards.
Do I want to pick off bluffs? And I think I do. I would check here. I would check call. Yeah,
Check
I
call?
would. Yep.
WP, sir. Okay,
Well,
let's see
let's see.
this.
No, yeah, well played, true, but results. Let's see. We always love the results, right?
We do. Let's see.
Um, y- so on the flop,
Jerk. Okay, so on the flop, the first question was here. Yeah, we check a lot on this paired board, but our combo allows us. Let's
would-
just look at,
I would think at 43% equity, or right where around it was, that would be a check.
yeah, I think we'll see this a lot. So I think this is kind of an insight that when we are on flop, and I think this becomes more pronounced, but on flop, we're spreading our betting checking across a large part of our range. It's more pronounced here than it was it's less pronounced here than it was in the last one. But oftentimes we'll see betting across the entire range
That-
on the flop.
That could just be a factor of like trying to have coverage on and have a little bit of everything mixed in somewhere.
Yes, which I think it
But-
does a lot on flop.
But I think against population, you could be less concerned about that on a flop.
Less balanced,
think
if
I'd-
you would.
Yeah, I would still resort to the way Jonathan teaches in the homeworks to bet the premiums and draws, put this in marginal and check it.
Okay.
can you roll over the ace three suited?
Yeah.
So we had diamonds. All right, didn't really matter.
Yeah, there's
You wanted to
nothing
see what happens if this
significant
is a
about-
rainbow?
I did. I wanted to see if it was rainbow. So we're at 62% check now.
Just to be,
Well, it's a deuce instead of a three, but probably doesn't make that much of a difference.
It did make a bit of a difference.
It drives up the frequency of the large bets.
when it's rainbow?
Yep.
That
The check frequency stayed, it went down by 2%, but you know, that's 2%. But look at how many more big bets there are.
Yeah, I think that's an important heuristic that we've seen often on rainbow boards.
And it's a paired board, which, you know, typically drives your small bet frequency up, right? So I was really surprised, to be honest, to see how much c betting we had out of position on this 10-10 paired board. This kind of surprised me.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I think that's gonna change a lot if we went to like cutoff versus button. But I think maybe our range is condensed enough in UTG versus button that does allow more bets. Let's just play around with this for a little bit. Let's make this.
Yeah.
It just shot up.
And the lower you go, the more we check until probably we get down into really low cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's nothing but overbets.
Yeah. Magic of the Unicorn 2 board, which we're finding. All right, a couple more.
Okay. I would be checking range on here on this board.
Yeah, I think we're gonna check a lot here. Which we do with range, yes.
Now this is where I always have issues.
Yeah, me too.
When I check range and I have this, I mean, we've got equity, right? I mean, we've got pretty decent equity. I almost feel like this could potentially be 3-bet, but
And
God.
also, this is a super common play against you with humans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people like reflexively just bet here when you check.
Oh, so I'm gonna predict this is just a mix from mostly fold with some calls. I could be totally wrong here. In this instance, I feel like we can call with the back doors, but God, and I bet there's some raising. But go ahead and hit click call for me because
Yeah, you got them all right. You can do anything.
and
Um,
then now we're checking 100% of time with this hand, probably with any hand we called with,
true.
and now it's just a fold. He got us.
All right, one more, and then we'll.
Power of position.
Yes, power position.
Oh, this
All
is
right.
going to be a great board for us, and we can even bet big. I would take the bet big-ish. Because we're so early, though, my big size here, like if I was any earlier than under the gun, it would automatically be 75 or higher. But because we're under the gun, I'm just going to make this 50 to 75. Let's hit the 50 button this time. What do we roll? We rolled an 8, so that's a really aggressive. Let's bet 75.
That's our
That's not a roll.
that's our
Oh,
that shows that
that's
we've
a
done
streak.
well in 8
Okay,
hands.
I gotcha. I gotcha. That's a
All right,
streak.
I don't have the RNG on.
So I think it's going to be anywhere from 50 to 75. So hit the 50 for me on my try.
Yeah, you get it. You
Oh
definitely get it.
no. Okay, but it does not like the big bets here. It's mostly small.
Let's see if we generate the fold we're after. So when I see this in solver, I'm thinking this is less polarized because of our bigger size. So,
Yeah. Is it
what do you guys think?
less I feel like this is
In
I mean,
solver, I think it's almost always polarized.
yeah. That's what I was thinking. I know it's kind of smallish, like it's a 50% rate, but it's still a polarized range because this is not a good board for the button.
Okay.
With our gut shot, I think we have to call, but it's gonna mix call and fold.
I fold.
Yeah, fold to pool for sure. Versus solver, like I said, it did have some mixing in there. I would just doesn't do anything for us in any way, our range or anything, so we check. There's a little bit of donking.
Now it gets interesting. I got an idea, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can like block bet now, or if we just check and fold.
I like a blocker here.
I
How
like
small,
check
though?
decide. I like check decide.
Yeah, I think in game I would just check, but I wonder if we were going to get some 10%.
Doesn't
No.
like the blocker here. It likes a. I turns into a bluff.
It's turning it into a bluff if it doesn't check.
I wonder if this is driven by blocking queen 10.
Yeah, the queen blocker.
Yeah, I didn't think jack high or the jack was high enough to turn to block bet itself.
Let's look at let's look at if it's showing this as a bluff. So we had queen jack suited,
No, we had, did we? Yeah, it was suited, right?
or off.
It was off.
And we're here, and let's go here. Let's pick queen jack.
That's the wrong board.
Oops. Thanks. There we go. Yes, that worked. Let's go here. Here. And let's go to breakdown, see where this falls. Yeah, so it falls down here. You see where it's darker?
Yeah.
So this is definitely a bluff. Just in our bluff region. You know, these are obviously our bluffs, bottom of range. Marginal made hands. And then as we get up to this, you know, very close to the threshold that Joey talked about, then we begin to have some small value bets. Okay, his queen is good enough to block her. But down here, it's definitely bluffs, and that's where this falls. This is a bluff. I would assume this bluff is driven by the fact we're blocking the rivered Broadway. What do you guys think?
After he checked the turn, I didn't think it would turn into a bluff.
Yeah, I think we can classify this as a bluff if it's down here.
I know. I thought it would be a little bit higher. I thought might be closer to the 50.
Yeah,
Then-
so the question that becomes for me, once we know it's a bluff, the question comes for me, you know, what qualities make it a bluff? And it's, you know, this is obviously very non-intuitive bluff to find. Because we've got showdown. Got a pair. And my only answer to that question is, well, solver thinks that this blocks enough of top of range that we can turn it into a block.
What are the blocker sizes at the top of our equity graph here? So if you go scroll all the way to the right, what are our blockers with our good hands?
So what hands are we using with the blocker sizing?
Where it starts the orange, like
Yeah,
Here?
above.
no,
a little
all
bit
the way to
above
the top.
50.
Yeah, like what is it using? It's using straights.
Great. So that's an important point, Mike. If it's going to put its blocker, some blocker sizing into the very top of range, which are these straights here.
Is it
Let's
using
see
any?
this real quick. Let's go to filter. Straight. So it's mixing straight sizing and traps across all sizes, right? So these are now just straights. So it's mixing, it's just all over the place with its sizing of straights. There's
Yep.
one out.
And sets? Looks like there's some sets
Look.
happening.
Look at the value threshold for the start of the blocker bet. It
Okay.
starts in top pair.
Sets are much more linear. Actually, no, it's so 6 is unblocking something. It considers its best set. They're all in the 90s, but and then aces. Oh, aces it's trap. Well, this doesn't make sense. Aces it's trapping. Because it's blocking the value, right? And then unblocking value, it wants to bet. And you want to talk about where the value threshold starts, Joey?
Yeah, look at the top pair down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all this almost, yeah, it's almost all in
That's
this
the
region.
blocking bet size, and it's used throughout there. Usually I would think like a king would get a blocker bet. This is like ace queen.
Yeah, second pair, it just pure checks. I guess it's because maybe there's enough two pairs in positions range And Broadway's on board. That second pair now kind of gets classified as a check call. All right, who wants to go next?
I'll run some.
Okay.
Okay, I classify this as a premium made. Which typically does bet. On this board, we're going to be checking a lot, if not checking range. So I will move it into check.
Question for you. Do you consider this hand to be a check raise candidate?
It depends on his sizing.
Okay. That makes sense. Check.
It does mix with bets, okay. Now I'm going to bet this. I'm going to have polarized range. The 5 didn't change anything.
Yeah, the 5 is super bricky.
Either 50% or 75%.
I'll let you
I
decide,
think I'll
sir.
go with 75%.
Yeah, you're definitely in there. But you're right that we get big sizing on, and I assume you're like, well, we get to use big sizing here because of the dry nature of the board and because of the neutral nature of the turn.
Well, after check, I would definitely polarize the turn.
So it's more about the action.
Yeah.
Okay. So we bet here and we fold 8s. Okay. Next hand.
Yeah.
This is always an interesting spot.
We bet a lot. We did have some checks on the what did we have earlier? Ace, ace, queen.
Yeah, we looked at an ace queen flop. Yeah.
I think this is mostly going to bet, and it's going to check for protection at some point. So I'll bet.
Yeah, I like that.
I would assume you're going to bet small.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Look at this. Yeah, we're betting our entire range on this board. This is an interesting spot. So, well, it's kind of sucky because we also now chop.
No, our king still plays. Oh no. No, it doesn't.
No, you have the nuts minus, except for quads.
I think typically I would size up, but I think double paired boards you have to go down. So I'm going to go with 50%.
So I'm wondering if we get.
Well, you were
We go
on. You could
way
go
down.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I wonder if we get to check a lot, but we do. I was just curious. I didn't think it would be that much.
Well, I think this happens a lot when we essentially, barring one combo, we've got the absolute nuts. We're going to check a lot. Let's look if we're doing it across all of our boats, all our ace-high boats. And I think the answer is yes. Yeah, we're checking 85% of the time, and well, that includes the jack-high boats as well. And I think it's just driven by just blocking so much. So I'd imagine we're obviously betting with the best at a higher frequency. We can't delineate between boat quality. But Yeah, the board is just locked up. I mean, all we can do is hope he has a jack. Okay, so, but we can do this. We can use the sizing.
I mean, he called it in population. I just keep going here.
How big though?
Just go for value. Purple. Nope, that one's a little too big.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So it's
Wow, I made him fold a jack.
yeah, and so here's what I'm wondering: if this is against population, and even if we have some kind of read that he's a fishier player, man, I feel like I would just be blasting value on all streets, and GTO like small bets on all streets because
Yeah.
it's not going to fold jack, right?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think this might be a very important KYC
I
spot.
couldn't imagine him folding any jacks though. That's why I just went for value.
Let's see if he mixes.
But if he's folding jacks, maybe we should be checking to let him try to bet some of them.
Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Hold on, guys. You can do it.
Going.
Okay, so what does he fold? That's the question. So he is mixed with his full houses. So he's folding everything. Well, he's got a mix of bluff catching, but yeah, he's just gonna fold his jack highs to the side. So what if we do let's go to B60. He's folding his jack highs. Yeah, he's mostly calling now. And he's shoving a lot of his. This is always interesting to me. If we choose this sizing, solver now mixes between shove and call. And I think this is because these solves were properly set up with rake. And it's found that it cost them too much money to shove and then pay full rake. And this is even at NL 500 where the cap is pretty small. So that's why the button in position does not shove its ace high full house at full frequency.
They're just calling to save what you lose in rake.
Yeah, it's just calling
Well,
because over a
if the
bazillion
rake
times
is
playing
capped,
this, it just doesn't, it's not profitable to shove because of the rake.
if the rake is capped, we should have reached it already.
Maybe.
5%, eight big blind cap on.
No, it's gonna be a lot
No.
smaller here because we're playing
The
NL
limit
500.
500 has a much smaller cap than 8.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh yeah, I was thinking about the stakes I play.
yeah, me too. That's the rake I'm obsessed with.
You played 8 big blind cap.
4 big blind cap.
Well, ignition is 5%, 8 big blinds, I think.
Well, that's worse than live. Because where I played,
can
it's
you win at
10%
that
up
rig?
to $7. So 1 and 2, it's 3.5 big blinds cap.
I mean, a lot about global sucks, but the one thing that doesn't is that you get 30% rake back no matter what your volume is or what your rake generation is. Everybody gets 30% back. Hey Derek, how you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good.
You're a little quiet, just so you know.
Okay, how's that?
That's perfect.
So I kind of
Great.
butchered that hand. I got one more hand to reprieve myself. Check.
Yeah, check range. Important to see.
Um. Card is good for me. My hand falls into junk. It's not my nut low. It's not near my nut low. So I'll check it.
Yeah, I like the way you think about that. You're saying, okay, is this nut low? Am I at the bottom of my range? And I know I bluffed from the bottom up. This has very marginal showdown. I need to check.
And that's a fold.
So a 2x pot. I'm wondering how strong of a hand we need.
Let's look. Okay, so he B175s. What is our calling threshold, right?
So even top pairs folding.
So top pair is, yeah, top pair is where it begins to come in. So these obviously connect with 3, 4, 5, right? So they're calling. Open ender gut shots calling. And then once we get beyond that. No,
Well,
it's probably more has to do with the front door. Flush rather.
Yep.
Gets that size, we don't get any, we have no check raises. Which makes sense. Important to see it though. What's the very top? And also, it's important to see we don't have any check raises, even though we're on turn. Now, this is another situation
Well,
where I
is that
think,
filtered? Is that filtered for just pairs right now?
yeah. We don't have, okay, so where is our set? Don't have any sets. What do we do? We have aces. So this is what I find interesting here. And I think this is a KYC spot. All right, we check. A human just bet nearly 2x pot. We have aces. Are you slow playing against humans? And my answer is, I think that whoever this is, he's either got nuts or a draw, right? So on this texture, he's either got 5s, 4s, slow
Pocket
played ace
deuces.
king,
6, 7.
6, 7. But it is choosing to slow play aces, and I assume this will be the very top of range, even though there is a straight available. 20% to vote up on river, 22 or whatever. Yeah, we're right up here. The only hands it's choosing to fast play are the straights that it has at a very low frequency. Sets go into this weird. I feel like this is a slow play. Because we're like at 90% equity. So I guess my question to you guys is, would you seeing this bet size, would you fast play a set of aces here? Or would you slow play?
In my population, I always fast played pretty much.
You got quiet again, Dad.
Derek, your
In my
mic is
population,
really
I
low.
fast play almost all the time because they call too much.
So yeah, you would fast play this.
Maybe
in
I
especially
default
without a
to
spade.
fast play.
You have to remember in general that the heuristic is when they bet large like he did, we have much fewer check raises.
Yeah, definitely in theory. I mean, in theory land, this is clearly in theory land, this is clearly a slow play. But my question is, against humans, what do we do? There certainly is an argument for checking because you know, this size is gonna be composed of bluffs. But my argument would be there might be some fast playing against humans that we know are much more devoid of bluffs. And we know that size more strongly correlates to their perceived strength of their hand. So then all of a sudden we're getting more fast plays. Okay, let's go back. So. Joey, you want to go? You're going, right?
That was my third.
Okay. Who's in here? Skates in here. I can do some. Skates on mute.
Go,
Okay.
Larry.
All right. I'll do a couple. All right, 10-9. This board is arranged check. So I think we're gonna have some. We're pretty close to bottom of range. I think we're gonna have some bets here. I think I prefer to construct a 2-street bet with like a small bet here and then a larger bet on the river. I don't know if solver likes that plan. I don't know how. I think the repeat 5 is good for us if we're going to bluff. So I'm going to again construct a 2-street bluff here. No,
I
doesn't
think
like
this
it.
hand is checked because of suits.
Okay.
You're gonna be picking your nut lows from hearts.
And that made it easy. Nice hand, sir. Okay, so we've got a marginal hand with some backdoor action going on. However, our range here, these hands are these are like, I think of these as contested boards where it's not clear who has range advantage. But I think generally out of position, we're going to check more on this kind of texture. I'm going to check this.
I'm with you.
We can do a little bit of everything wants to check. I don't think there's any reason to turn this into a bluff. The hand generally is, I think it's king probably better for our range, but I don't think that we really need to. Essentially, if we bet here, we're turning our 9 into a bluff, but we don't need to do that.
Nice.
All right, so he's capped. We have 2 pairs, so we clearly need to value that. I think we go between B 77 and 31.
I would block. I think I
Yeah,
would
you
block
block.
here. No, I take that back. I forgot we had 2 pair.
So what are the straights on board? The
I
straights
wanna
are,
overbet.
yeah, so. Was it Jack 10? So, yeah, okay. I think small is good. We do whatever we want. And we got some value.
Okay. I was thinking the B77 was going to be more prevalent, but it wasn't.
Let's see. Yeah. You know, I wonder if this is, well, let me see. So if we go right breakdown. So I would assume this has got to be a factor of capped ranges. Because even with our very best hands, our straights, we are choosing to, we're choosing to check. So that's where we're check traffic with our straights. And I think this in sovereign land is because we're unblocking all their 2 pair and all their sets. And then when we get down to like sets, we're also Yeah, so I think the reason that we're small betting here is driven by the cap nature of the action. Does that sound right to you guys?
Right, because I mean, they're not going to be really checking back their king, queen, or not even like flop and turn. They would probably bet often on the flop if they had
Yeah,
a
so
queen.
yeah, so I think this is driven by, I mean, the question becomes, is it driven by the nature of the board or is it driven by the betting action? I think here that largely the fact that we're just block betting from bet, it's driven by the betting action. All right, that was two. I'll do a third here. So we're gonna have checks here, but I think this hand we want to bet. I'm not particularly fond of trapping this. I think it's a small bet. I mean, would you guys call this a dry board?
Yeah.
Dry, ultra dry.
Dry static, right?
Yep.
Yep, dry static.
If anybody understands the difference between dry static versus wet dynamic, let me know because I haven't figured it out yet.
I would choose the B50 here.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't like this small side. I'm not
And
breaking it, but it doesn't like it.
there's a lot. Look at the checking. I mean, we are going to be checking often out of position, so that doesn't surprise me. But I didn't think we'd see quite as much big bets from
Yeah,
that
look
early
at the-
position.
Yeah, look
I
at the
didn't think so either. Let's
B75.
change the board to two-tone, see what happens. So across range, we've got, yeah, we got a lot of big betting. Let's change this to. It just goes away.
Yep.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, I think that's something probably needs, to
What?
pay attention to. Is
So-
that,
The
the
four is a
rainbow
heart.
nature of this board with this, this is very top of range, I assume.
Yeah, but everything within our range is doing that. It's not just kings. It was all the other stuff too.
That's a very good point. Let's just confirm what we just said.
So if we make the heart a four, the four a heart, the big bet goes away. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it did. It did go away.
Because
So when we made this a two-tone board, this big betting went away.
you don't want to blow up the pot in case they get a flush. Is that the thinking? Or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could get outdrawn much more easily. The probability of frequency of it being outdrawn is gonna be higher. So what I really want to see is where are kings in our, yeah, this is pretty far up. What I find interesting here, if you look at this, I mean, this is getting a little bit into the minutiae, but if you do it, I guess if you want to do it, it's now the time.
Ace queen has more equity than king.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And I think it's because he must have kings in his flatting range. And so ace queen blocks his set. We really like blocking his set. Not really, they're right next to each other, but anyway, okay. Okay, so
But yeah,
I'm gonna
that's a good common heuristic that we see throughout, right? Is the dry nature of the board, the drier nature of the board will drive up your bet sizing. The wetness of the board will drive down your bet sizing.
yes, yeah, that's an important one to know. I'm going to change this because I'd like to find this big bet more here in game. So I'm gonna play this line.
so it's always true that wetter boards mean smaller bets. Is that
No,
always
it's
true?
not, and you'll hear people tell you the opposite. I mean, always is a really tough word to use in poker, really. It gets really complicated. Oh,
So just trying to understand the smaller bet sizes. Is it because you're worried about getting shoved over by a flush draw?
Um,
Because you only have
You-
100 big
you
blinds or
can't-
so.
You can't limit it to things that simplistic. Because it really depends what position we're in, what position our opponent's in, what the board is. Like this was queen 6-4, but if it's queen 8-5, that might be different. You know what I mean?
So explain to Derek why Queen 6-4 rainbow versus Queen 6-4 where there's two hearts. Why solver likes to size down on the two-tone board.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to learn.
Because the button has a harder time defending his range against a larger bet on the rainbow board.
Because he's unlikely to have the flush draw.
Yeah, when there's a flush draw, he finds it easier to defend. So when you make a big bet on the flush draw, you're making the life of the button pretty easy. He'll
So he just
defend his top pair and better and flush draws and straight draw.
Okay.
so that's a very interesting perspective, which I think is important that Joey just said. Essentially, a lot of sometimes poker is about about driving behavior of our opponent. So when we bet small, we keep their range wide. When we bet big, we filter their range. We generally, if we have a good hand, want to keep their range wide. And so that is driving the behavior that Joey is talking about. Okay,
Okay.
so we bet 55 comes, and now this is interesting. It brings in some gut shots. Do we let go of the gas here, or is this hand good enough? I think we might down bet now. Yeah, I think we're gonna down bet. Yeah, we mostly check.
Heavy big bet too.
We do. We can go either way here.
Yeah.
And I think you made a good point, which I listened to last week, which I think you're right. Sometimes tend towards tightness, Mike. So I do like the idea of the big bet, and probably sometimes I should throw this in more. Okay, now this gets interesting. You know, we're gonna call here, but what are you guys doing against humans with this hand?
Ugh.
This is a huge raise. Almost a 6x raise. What is a
Pot-
Yeah,
6x
but
raise?
6x against a tiny bet is normal.
Yeah, it's a pot size raise.
So we call here, obviously. We'll worry about what you saw earlier. And we can just PN stack off. I would imagine we're stacking off here because now does he have to call with his draws? Is that why we like to stack off here sometimes? Well, let's find out. Let's find out real quick. So when he raises,
First, check the equity of kings.
okay, it's fine.
Find out if it's mergy or
It's merging.
yeah, it's kind of mergy. That's why it's
We're never doing with aces. But it's kind of like we're always doing it with queens. So we've got to balance that. So this is our balance. A6 with the front door. Open ender. Open ender. And a pair. Set. I guess the way to put it, we're doing it this way, sets. We're doing this for our two sets. We got to balance it out. Because we're solver world. So Kings falls into that strategy. Okay, so. Well, the question was, so if we shove this,
Yeah, the question was, what about against pool?
well, that was the first question.
Yeah,
So if we shove this and he calls, does he call with? He calls with this combo draw, right? That's in. There's 7-6s in. It's me 7-6 of spades. His flush draws now are indifferent. Well, no, he's not. His pure flush draws are out. But his flush draws that have a pair and or open under are in. And his OESD has to have a pair to call off. And yeah, the big question is, what do we do against humans? And I would, I would mix it. I think in game, if I had this, I think that, well, it's obviously very user dependent. But let's talk about on ignition. Like, what are you gonna do here on ignition, Mike?
if I see this raise from, it would be probably villain dependent, and it could cause me to fold depending on the villain. I could fold this.
Okay, so you probably
Right.
mix.
Yeah, I mean, and it would depend on the villain, of course. Now, if this is an unknown, like this, say this is, third hand in, and I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I would. This is a very uncommon play. Let's go. Let's just see how often he makes this, then we'll go back to the toy game.
There is the Beluga theorem, which is still valid in population.
Yeah.
Not in Solverland, but it is still valid in population.
Remind me, what was that?
The Beluga theorem says that whenever you are raised or checked raised on the turn, seriously consider the value of your one pair hands.
Yeah.
Like, the problem was at the time everybody was calling top pair and better. And in reality, top pair is kind of weak when you get check raised on the turn.
And so this is just solver. I mean, this is maybe a little bit too ridiculously filtered, but this is looking at this raise we're seeing and where it falls. And he's got it, obviously he's got it all through his range because he's solver, but it's heavily skewed towards very top of range. Right? So even in solver, this is a very skewed play. Of course, he's going to have lots of bluffs, but heavily skewed towards the top of range. All right, we call, we're not folding in the world of solver. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's card mostly. I don't think he does that much 3x with this.
Any block bets? No.
No.
This is we're gonna be indifferent AF. The flush didn't complete. I would argue the top part of his straight bluffs didn't complete. I don't think 3x is in. There's too much. I think we're gonna mix here. But I think I'm gonna fold. We can do both. Folding aces pure. I don't. Well, this is interesting. I think we fold aces pure because
He has to have some aces in his bluffing range.
I don't think we want to block ace X flush draw bluffs. And blocking not flush draw bluffs is a bad thing. We call it kings. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
If I can pick up on something that Joy said is,
Good fold.
I used to follow what Harrington said, that if you're showing aggression and they bet you on the turn, just fold. But that's
Well,
sort of like
Yeah, I
Beluga
think that's
theory.
what our discussion was before, Derek. I mean, we were talking about, okay, well, we know what silver does here. It's gonna call. We all knew that. But then what do you do against humans? And I think, that was the Beluga theorem that Joy was talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure if the Beluga theorem or Harrington came first. They're
Well,
both probably
Harrington
around
had
the
that
same
in his
time.
book. I heard of the Beluga theory on the internet on 2+2
Well,
earlier.
that's where it's from.
Pardon?
It is from 2+2.
Yeah, there's a guy named Beluga Whale.
Yeah. But
That's where it comes
also,
from.
2+2 was the publisher of the book.
Yep, that's true.
So there's a possibility Harrington got it from the forum or the forum got it from Harrington.
Certainly, but the forum had it before Harrington's book came out.
My guess is that the world of poker players who study a lot is probably pretty small. So, all right.
So
I'm
this
gonna do 3. Derek, do you want to do a couple?
Sure, but I just
It's
wanted
his
to
turn.
add, this says that you should not follow the Beluga theory. Is that what this is saying?
No.
Beluga theorem dates back to 2006. So the Harrington came first.
Yeah. Okay.
So what this is saying is that a solver has entirely, not entirely, solver has a balanced range when it makes its play, right? It
Right.
has all sorts of marginal and draws that it's making this play with. And what we're saying with the Beluga theorem and our conversation is that humans don't have a balanced range here, and that this raise is heavily skewed towards bluffs. I'm sorry, it's the opposite. It's heavily skewed towards value. So I'm going to show you here. So he makes this play with these cards, right? Here's our flop.
Right.
Here's our turn. Here's our texture. Now I'm going to filter this to trash hands and weak hands. So this part, so the argument I think we're making is that with humans, the great majority of these combos are gone.
Right.
Maybe humans find this with 7s. Maybe humans find this with, I don't know, what's ace 4? Yeah. Humans are going to find this with ace 4 spades sometimes, but largely
4.
all of these hands are not going to be here.
Agreed.
So once you remove the bottom of their range, they're just making this play. An exploitative fold is more profitable.
Yeah, because like in my play, I kind of follow the Harrington/Beluga rule, so I'm very, very exploitable.
Yeah, but people aren't gonna. I mean, some really good players you play against are going to understand that.
Yeah, but I play 1-3.
It's very hard. I found, you guys may find this different. It's very hard to identify people that overfold to aggression in your pool because you have to be paying very close attention to your table to understand that, because you don't see what they have, right?
Right.
Because the people who are disciplined folders, they just fold, and so you don't know if they were betting on turn with bluff
Right.
or
I
value or
never
draw.
show them that I have kings here,
Yes,
and then I'm
yeah,
folding
that
it.
would be, I definitely a mistake. So, it's very hard to understand. At least I find it very hard in the pool to understand who the disciplined folders are that you can then exploit by overbetting or overbluffing. You
Yeah,
guys may
'cause
see that different. I'm curious if you have any clues there, but
Yeah, because the way to get me off kings here is just bet.
so we've been going
Well,
about,
against a good player, you saw against good players, we can't get ourselves off at kings.
Right, right. But I make it a point of playing with really bad players.
so then you can overfold.
Yeah, I just overfold to their aggression.
Yeah,
And
I think that's-
that I know is exploitable, but I don't care.
Yeah, and our point is that it's very hard to. Only a good player will understand after playing with you for a long time that you are capable of folding over pairs at full frequency.
Right.
Derek, you want to do a couple?
Sure. Okay. Two-tone board. We have one over. I kind of like it. It doesn't really hit our range that great because we got one high card and one shit card and one middle card. But against my population, usually I just continuation bet way too much because
Yeah, I think
my
you're gonna have.
players overflow. But if I'm playing against Phil Ivey, which is Phil Ivey sat down here, I think you can check it and bet it small in
So
equal
I think you have to
proportions.
think of solver as closer to Phil Ivey.
Can I jump in here?
Sure.
I would do the opposite pretty much of what he just said.
Okay.
I would
That's
see
instructive.
bet this versus Phil Ivey because against the solver on a king high board, the under the gun player is doing pretty good. Against population, who are not going to overexploit your checking range, it's safer to check this and see what they do.
Can you explain why?
Because in general, population, especially your game, is loose passive.
Right.
That means that if you check to them, they're most likely going to check back.
Unless they have a good.
If they bet, their bet is more likely honest than balanced.
And then you can overfold to their aggression, like I.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
But if loose passive players call too often, you want to bluff versus them a little less often.
Right. But I
But
think that
if you see bet this board versus population, you'll be fine. I'm definitely see betting it versus Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu.
right. But I'm
Yeah, I think
thinking
that. Oh, go ahead, Derek.
I'm thinking my pop like I remember watching this video by Jonathan Little that says that you can against population you can just c-bet like an outrageous amount, like 80% or more.
Right, but this hand also fits into a nice check hand too, because it could still be best. So it might be marginal made. It has backdoor equity if it checks through. You might turn a spade.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reason to bet, but the ace jack is a reason to check because ace high could still be good here.
Right.
And Derek, I think also that really high C bet frequency that they're talking about, it could also be really applied to when you're in position versus the blinds.
Right.
And here we are out of position against a button, which I don't think applies as much
Right.
as the other configuration.
Yeah, I think Mike has a very good point. One important lesson is that we're checking just a ton more when we're playing that in a single raise pot.
Okay.
In theory, now KYC, you may find that your population overfolds. You may find your population just kind of reflexively tries to steal the pot when you check, so that you've got the, what I find in my pool is that people reflexively bet if you check to them. So what do? I check even more. I check the very top of range, and I have a lot of check raises in this situation in pool. I have a lot of check raises with my top of range, and I have a lot of check raises with my front door and back door draws, depending on equity that I receive at tap. But it depends on your pool. So with all that said, what do you want to do here, sir?
I think I'm checking against population and against Phil Ivey. I like Joey's idea.
Yeah, we can
Betting.
do whatever we want. Not whatever, but okay. Check. 8.
Well, that's a disaster.
I think
You
that's
know
a good
what?
card.
I
You
think that's a
wanted the
good
queen
card.
of spades or something like that.
Well, this is an important thing to talk about because we're perceiving it differently. So we should probably dig down a little bit for not only our education, but your education. But everyone's education. It's a study session. Like and subscribe down below. Please comment. So, well, Mike, what's your perception as to why this is a good card?
I think this is a good card for our hand. Maybe not necessarily for our range, but for our particular hand. I'm not afraid of seeing this 8 show up here. I mean, certainly the button has 8s, but we're kind of, you know, not necessarily high up in our range, but we have a lot of showdown value here with this hand. And an 8 on the turn, I don't think is really all that is all that bad for us.
Okay.
Now, Derek, what is your perception as to why this is a bad card?
We don't have any. None of our back doors appeared.
Yeah.
So usually, I like to continue betting if I turn equity.
Yes,
Here I
that's
didn't
a
turn
good
any
heuristic.
equity. So, like, I have a very fairly simple turn strategy in that if I turn extra equity in like a backdoor straight, backdoor flush, that
But
kind of stuff.
you check, did we check the flop?
We did.
Yeah.
No, I think we see bet it.
We checked it. It's here.
Yeah, we checked.
I thought he said to see bet.
Well, I said,
He said against population he would
against,
check. Against Phil Ivey he would bet.
yeah.
Well, we can
Oh.
take both lines. We can redo the hand. It's just redo the hand. So my argument for checking, yeah. So I think the one important thing to think about is that you're thinking about your range, Derek.
Yeah.
Is this hand good for your range? Maybe another thing to think about is how does this affect our opponent's range? And when I'm looking at this card, I'm saying I think this is a good card because one, it's reduced his frequency of set traps. And two, there's one less card that he can have a pair with, right? Because this 8 doesn't bring in, well, it also doesn't bring in any draws. And it doesn't bring in another pair. So I think this card generally is good for out of position.
Okay.
Alright. Well, the way I have learned how to process things like this on any street, the first thing you should do is put your hand into a category bucket. Where does your ace jack fall when if you try to break your hand up in premium made, draws, marginal made, or junk?
It's a marginal hand.
Okay. Start with that and then figure out whether, so the 8 did not increase the equity of your hand.
Right. We didn't go from marginal to draw with a marginal.
The 8 was not good for your range.
Right.
So putting all that together, what do you think is the action now?
Check.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, we never know what's gonna turn it in. Notice with the ace jack. This is gonna be very suits based. It likes blocking. It wants to bet blocking their continues.
I was considering our
With his
hand to
spade.
be, I was considering like this bet is a value bet.
Yeah, but we know that if it was a value, yeah, I think you're right, Mike. But I think it has greater value and will generate more folds blocking their continues. Right? That's why we're seeing such an extreme difference between having the spade and not having the spade. I mean, we even like having it's even classifying a bet a little bit with the backdoor blocker. But this is, I think, driven by just blocking continue. So we were right on the first level, Derek, and this plays fine clearly. What we didn't, it's got the same EV across the line here. What we are factoring in now is next level. What about our opponent's range? Well, we really like blocking their continues. So we can generate folds at a higher frequency with a bet here, which, we're happy with face high. But checking's fine, so we'll do that. Okay, we get the blankest of all blank rivers. What do you want to do, sir?
This is a terrible card to bluff with. I'm going to check here.
Okay, I think you're gonna check a lot here. It wants to
Oh.
go for the thinnest of all value.
100%. I'm
It
wrong,
wants to
wrong,
go
wrong.
for, it wants to go for the thinnest of value. But we're at the end of the solve of the trainer.
So it's
we can
going for
just check.
value with ace high. Is that what it's saying?
So we just checked and he bet. What would you like to do here? We're unfortunately not gonna get an answer, but we'll just play it out.
No, I think we're still going to get an answer.
I think we're off solve now, so it's not
Oh,
gonna give
okay.
us a response.
Well, like I say, my population doesn't bluff enough on the river. So against population, I'd fold, but against Phil Ivey, I'd call. So if I'm playing Phil
Yeah,
Ivey,
we got an answer.
I'd call.
Yeah, good fold. Okay, one more, couple more.
Change move to block.
Change move.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, I wanted to go back one. I guess we can't. Never mind.
Okay.
I wanted to go to where we would bet the 2 on the river and
Well, we were all of us were all over the place on this hand. Let's just do it again.
put
Let's just do this hand again. This is how we learn. One way. Okay, same hand. Derek, what would you want to do?
Let's bet.
You saw it bet at a high frequency here.
Yeah.
I'm curious if having the spade is important. It is. The spade is really important in this configuration.
We like our spade.
He calls, we get the repeat 8. Now we're down a different game tree of adventure.
Bet 50.
Yeah, generally I think that, so I think this card will allow us to continue to bluff. We've chosen to turn our ace jack into a bluff on a king high board. I think, yeah, I think that we're
I
gonna
think-
continue.
I think
That
it's
would
a
be-
check after
yeah.
we rebet.
yeah, I would check here.
Well, we're
The
gonna
8's not a good card for us to continue with.
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna have, I just think we're gonna continue to have some bluffs here with this 8, which is just good for, it just takes away sets.
The 8 doesn't get us any more equity. So that's why I usually check on boards where I don't turn equity.
Okay, so you got a B33, B50, he continues to call. His straights, well, he could have, I don't know if he has 9-7 suited, actually, he doesn't. He does have 10-9 suited, he has a gut shot. So his straights, bricked, his flush bricked. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to continue? Okay. Do you want to triple barrel the solver?
Yeah, I think so. Bet 13.
So let's go around the room here. So I do think that this is going to allow for a triple barrel, considering his draws bricked. He's going to have a lot of kings. It's going to cost down, but I would choose at the 86. It might be too big. What do you guys think?
Nope, I think you got to go 80, B86 too, because I mean he's got a lot of pairs. He's got sevens through shoot. He's got queens. So I think you got to go big if you're going to bet.
Okay,
Makes sense.
but I'll let you decide. I'm in the B86 group if you're gonna choose to continue.
Okay, let's try 86.
Okay, let me ask
I-
another question to you guys. Do you think we give this up at a high frequency?
I do.
Yes. Yes.
So I think we're gonna go, so I think, yeah. I think what we decided, this is gonna be a really polarized strategy. We're either gonna B86 or we're going to check, but B86 is
86 bigger or check.
bigger, it wants even bigger if it's gonna take this long, but it mostly wants to give up. But we're not breaking solver. Show us the king 10. Okay, well played. I think your line was fine, right? Your line was a triple barrel and it was fine. All right, last one, Derek, and then
Okay.
we've been doing 2 hours of training. You guys want to go to mark hands after this one?
Yeah.
Can we take a break too?
Sure.
Okay. Last one, Derek.
Okay.
Okay. What do you want to do here?
2 overs and a backdoor flash backdoor straight. Yeah, I'm betting this all day, every day.
In general, the heuristic when you're out of position, you're going to have a lot of boards where you're just checking range.
Okay. Is this one of them?
I think this is a board where you're either very close or are checking range.
Yep, I agree. I
Can
think
you
there's
explain that?
This board is much better for the buttons range than your opening range.
Because there's no kings, no aces, no queens.
Yeah, think of from the button, the bottom of your range is offsuit jacks and suited nines.
Yeah.
So you might have some hands with top pair.
But
a
I have
couple
no
over
fours,
pairs.
no twos, pretty much.
But the button's going to have a lot more nines, 9-8, nines, no, not 9-7. He's
9,
gonna
8,
have
9, 10,
8-9. He's
Jack
gonna
9.
have he's gonna have 7-8 suited. He's gonna have all the sets. You don't have all the sets.
No, we don't have
You don't have
two.
fours. You don't have twos.
Never.
So let's just dive down into what Joey's talking about and kind of look at it and solve it. Using the geeky tools that it allows us. All right, so let's look at range versus range. So the most important number here probably is this number here. Derek. So
Yep.
what this is telling us is that, well, let me draw, there it is. What this is telling us is that if you look at the equity, the total equity of the ranges, right?
Right.
How much equity does he have on this board with his hands? How much do we have out of position with our hand? And he has got an equity advantage on this board here.
So this board hit his range way more than ours, so that means we check to keep the pot small.
Often yes, I will say yes, we're checking this board almost 90% of the time. And
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
you can look here and see that because they own this, they have more share of this board is one way to put that. And also, let's just take it back to another step. Let's look at the amount of combos that we open. And that's here. We open 220 combos. Their flatting range in, I mean, it's different humans, but their flatting range is only 75 combos. So they have a third of the hands we do, which means they have just a more condensed range. So they have less trap. And
Right.
what this is telling us is on this board, even though we've got aces, kings, and queens, which they don't have, on this board, they just do better.
And also take a look at the button range right on the right side there.
Okay.
Look how much that's around jacks, tens, and nines in his range.
Okay, yeah. So they got all the nines, all
Well,
the
not all the
jacks.
nines, but they got a lot of them.
Yeah.
So this is like a really geeky kind of technical way to explain what we're saying, which is just a visual representation maybe of what, what the points Joey was making was that this board is just better for imposition. And also, when you compound that, when you add the fact that we're playing out of position, we're gonna check a lot. And it's because we opened my eyes a little bit, was that we're kind of betting into the void, right?
Hmm.
I mean, we're betting we don't have any information about the strength of his hand. That's a lot different than when you're playing in position. When you're playing in position and the out of position player checks to you or bets to you, and the bet size, you now have information about the quality of the hand. Of course, there's gonna be bluffs, blah, 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 but you do have some information. Here, if you bet, you're betting into a void. You don't know anything about his range. Well, you know the shape of it, but you don't know anything about how it interacted with this board.
Right. Right.
So I'll let you choose.
Yeah. Check. You convinced me. Definitely check.
We do get bets, right? We can choose to take a very aggressive bluffing line, but mostly we're gonna check. And this hand did bet more than our range. He bet small.
I think we can call and see what if we turn some equity.
Just as an aside for the group here, just check. And sorry for the diversion, but so gents, what I see happening a lot here. I mean, I'll check this board, and I check this board now mostly because of the training we've done. But what I find imposition does now a lot is they do bet, but they sometimes choose them. They very rarely choose a solver proof size. A lot of it's a B75, right? So all of a sudden, our UTG hand becomes a lot harder to play against population. Do you guys find that to be the case, or am I just in a special pool?
No, I think that's just your pool. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, I see a lot of this.
Okay.
I see it from different live. There are some players that don't understand bet sizing and they go pot size for just about everything.
Yeah.
I see that, but I also see small betting a lot.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So, Derek, what do you want to do here? You got yeah, you got two back doors, and you got two overs.
I think that gives me just enough equity to call.
I agree. I think it's a call.
Yeah, I think you can mix call or raise.
Check raise would be sexy. Yeah, we've got a lot. It really likes check raising.
What?
All right, now you got a gutter. I don't know.
Return to gutter.
What are you gonna do, sir?
I think I want to try to check raise them. Hopefully,
I thought we might have some dunk.
Now the queen doesn't give us dunks.
No?
Check, check.
Well, that doesn't hit our range at all.
No, it's kind of a neutral card. Doesn't bring any draws in.
Yeah.
Brick.
'Cause
It's a brick.
We never
It's a brick
have
river.
5-3 here. So I'm checking here.
Okay, you're gonna take your king out of showdown, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can show down with this.
So I
range.
would choose to bluff here. I think
Okay.
I would. He's capped. So let's go over the action, right? So check, bet small, check, check on the queen. I think that you can generate enough folds. I think his range is capped enough for it to generate folds. I would choose a B60 here. Because I think that I don't think the king high gives us enough showdown. So what am I targeting? I'm targeting his ace highs. I don't think solver's ever gonna fold. Well, solver, I think folds under pairs at a very low frequency here, but I would just might be targeting ace high. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't mind bluffing. If I were to bluff, I would choose maybe more of a 14.5.
I'm not sure about the king high. I'd be
Okay,
more
were you saying that?
comfortable starting with jack high as my bluffs,
Right.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
because you're targeting a larger number of hands that are going to insta fold.
So, Jack, Joey's with you. He thinks this has got some showdown. So we'll check.
That's what I'm thinking.
We can do either, but it does like a couple of things. We want to just dive into where our bluffs are coming from, and then we'll take a break. I think this is an important line. to
Yeah.
see where our bluffs are.
That's one thing I think I don't bluff enough on the river.
I'll give you the showdown, by the way. So, check. Bet. Okay. What do you do?
I think we can fold here. Is I wrong?
Now, our bluff wouldn't have worked. He would have called with that. So you're the one. You lost money, less money than I did. So where are our bluffs coming from here? So pretty capped range, right? Small bet, call, queen, check, check. I mean, if we thought about it a little bit, maybe we could put them on a pair in this kind of region, this hand class. So where are our bluffs coming from? So our bluffs here. We don't have that many, right? That's the first thing. We have less than I thought. Our trash hands just are not bluffing that much. We are checking with that. We're giving up at a very high frequency.
Wow, those ones at the bottom, all six. No, they're all pairs. Okay,
Yeah, it's classifying these as trash hands.
marginal. Yeah,
Interesting thing.
yeah.
Well,
We don't
go
have
ahead.
that many jack. Because I was envisioning starting with jacks, but we just don't have that many jacks in range.
Yeah, so we got to pull from kings to get to our proper
But that-
balance.
Because without seeing the graphically of what our range is, I thought king jack was higher in our range than what it really is.
Yeah, I see your point.
Because now it's only like third high in the or it's like fourth low. Pretty much where I envisioned it to be more in the middle than the bottom.
So let's just run through these. So I think the bottom line is ace high is it's got enough showdown, right? But then in this run out, the kings and jacks, this is the main component of our bluffing range. Which is interesting because we're a lot of times there's talk about blocking autofolds, right? And autofolds are going to be missed broadways, but we are turning these into bluffs. 8-7 is, let's see, so 8-7 we're just giving up on. We must have some blocking properties we don't like about 8-7. But mostly, yeah, it's coming from here. This is our bluffing range. Any other questions about the solve?
Well, can we go one more step and look at the button range, what he's folding to our
Sure.
bet?
So our most common bet size here with our bluffs.
Well, with the king jack, looked like it was 60%.
Yeah, okay, so we beat 60. Under the B60. What portion of his range does he fold out? So he does get indifferent with tens here. Which is what he had in the toy game.
Yeah, and threes and fives are folding, so I
Well,
guess,
yeah, let's go through hand classes.
if we're getting threes, fives, and some tens to fold, it makes sense with the king. High.
Top pairs never folding, under pairs, jacks stick around. His second pairs become, well, his worst second pairs become indifferent. third pair. He just must have, he might also have one thing we didn't talk about, which I'm gonna try to think about more is how filtered is his range, right? He's got a pretty unfiltered range when we got to river because it went check, bet small, check, check. So he's got a lot of combos, which means if you look at, well, this is one way to look at it, which might be interesting. So let's look at what the whole, if we look down here, all of his hands put into hand classes, right? Look how much of his hand class is trash hands. He's got 74% of trash hand in this unfiltered range because of the action. So that must drive us having, you know, I would say a healthy amount of bluffs. Does that argument hold
Well-
water for you guys?
I do not like the way you worded the last sentence.
How would you word it?
A solver will have a balanced amount of bluffs no matter what the range looks like. Um,
Okay, I don't know if I see it that way. I think that
Th-
probably a more filtered range that with different action that gets to
it'll
river is
still
gonna
have-
have a different composure.
it just, well, what this would do is it would lower our betting threshold. And with this, so we can, with a lowered betting threshold, we can bet more for value, which will give us more bluffs to balance the range.
Okay, that's another way to look at it.
solver
I
will
see your
always-
point.
A solver will almost always have, I don't want to say always because I haven't seen every possible solve that exists. But they will have if we bet 60%, 60 should have like about 30% bluff range. So almost not quite a little under 2 to 1 value to bluff.
Yeah, so we can see here are bluffs all down here. Yeah,
And-
it's hard to understand. It's well, we can. You are
What
right
percentage
because we can
does-
look and see. So this is we're sorted by category, and how much of the range it is, right? So, you know, I think we can classify our bluffs coming from king high and no main hand, right? So I don't know how to figure out how much of the betting range it is, but we're betting a very high um, frequency with this part of the range, which is our trash. All right, you guys want to take a break and come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take a break.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, come back.
All right.
All right, who's back?
I just got back.
Has your internet cleaned up its mess?
I hope so.
Um, do you want to share some hands?
You know me, Larry. I have literally hundreds and hundreds of hands.
Well, that's a
Um,
good thing because I can
so,
shut up.
so yeah, I definitely have hands that we can look at because I mean I just have they're just loaded with them. Is that what we're doing? We're gonna do marked hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joey, Derek, you guys back? Skate?
I'm on, however, I am purchasing stuff for a poker tournament I'm running in July.
Okay. Um, you said you're gonna do poker training?
No, a poker tournament that I'm doing. I
Oh.
run I run a charity poker tournament at a Star Trek convention in July.
Oh, cool. In Philly?
No, this one's in Lancaster.
All right. You ever been to Lidditz?
No, I don't know what Lidditz is.
Lidditz is a small town in Lancaster County.
Oh yeah, I've heard it. I've heard of it, but I don't know.
Fine little small town. I have an ex-girlfriend from there. Okay, I guess we're ready.
Did you want me to share?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's get that and so this is a recent session that I know I had marked a few hands. So anyway, I don't even know what this particular hand is. I just know I had marked it. So
Okay.
so here we go.
It's an interesting spot.
Yeah, now I'm wondering why I marked this. So I must have played it. I almost feel like this is just a fold, but I'm not sure. So I must have played it. What's your thoughts pre-flop here? Anybody?
So U2G +1. This has got to be really cuspy.
I think I fold it.
Yep.
What after a 3-bet and you're like cold 4-betting, you are very, very tight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just as I had pulled this up and I got to this point, I'm like, I wonder why I marked this. So I must play it. I know I don't call. There's zero chance I call here. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just outside of, this is just outside.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
ace queen is going to squeeze at a very high frequency. But I mean, you're taking an aggressive line. Good for you. That's something I need to learn to do.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. So again, like I said, I definitely am questioning it. I wonder if I'm just sort of trying to, this guy may have been, he hadn't 3-bet much. Anyways, not very many hands anyway. So nothing really to like go off on justifying this. So here we go. Now that we've 4-bet,
Shove it in.
shove it in.
Yep.
No.
No.
Yeah. No, I think
10. I bet about
Right.
10.
But
Yeah,
let's go. Let's kind of talk to Derek about why. So the easy answer to the question as to why we're saying don't shove is you're going to make play. This is what Jonathan Little would say here, is that you've now made the game very easy for your opponent. Your opponent is going to fold out worse and he's going to call back. A great frequency deck.
So,
So
if he has queens, kings, or aces, he's gonna call. If he has ace king, he's gonna fold.
yeah, you know, and of course there's going to be rare occasions he's going to call king jack suited, but for the great majority of the time, you're just going to. We were talking about filtering ranges before. You're just going to filter his range to hands, some hands, but a small fraction of it you're going to beat. The great majority of hands that he's going to call you with are going to beat you. Queens would be the most obvious example.
So if we bet 10, then the pot will be 60 and we'll have 60 back, roughly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we're getting a little awkward with stack size. Now, okay, so now we see where you mark this. This
Now
is a
we
very
fold.
interesting spot. Well, it's very hard for you to improve, right? But his raise size is quite enticing. He really should only have queens here, but he might have kings and aces. It's really nice that it's very hard for him to have the single combo sixes. Especially after code 4 and its position.
Yeah, what are the bluffs? Like I mean, what are the bluffs? If he has
That's a
like,
very good question. So there are, yeah, this is a super dry board.
I mean, King Jack, right? King Jack is the only hand that I could be beating, really. I mean, unless he's just a maniac, which we have no reason to think that.
An 18-12 is not a maniac.
Yeah, there's not enough hands. There's only 17 hands.
Okay.
And yeah,
Odds are
18.
enticing. I think I call 1 and see what develops on turn.
All right, before you say call 1, do you see what it's going to do to the pot on the turn?
Yeah, the SPR is going to be shitty.
SPR is going to be less than 1.
Going to be less than half. Or now it's a little over half.
Yeah. This was a pre-flop compounded mistake, right?
So,
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah, I guess you fold.
Yeah.
Show us the pain. Show us tens.
Ooh.
Oh, well, at least you felt, yeah, at least you folded the. Well, you put it perfectly. You called the better hand, and then when he improved, you folded.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good. So I wouldn't mind. Let's check out how bad pre-flop was. It was,
Yeah, he was like UTG +1.
gotta go post-flop. 9 max. And he made it actually GT, he was min raised. He went here. It was the button, I think.
Yeah.
And it was only 6. It was a 6. Was it button? Was it cut off?
Well,
I think it was cut off.
Yeah, it was cut off. Yep.
no, it was button, wasn't it?
Was it?
Go back
Was
to
it?
pre-flop so you can see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
cut off.
Cut off.
Which I don't know if that makes that much of a difference because the raise size is smaller, but yet it's an earlier position. We were small blind. So ace jack suited is just a pure brick and fold. Not even, or Wade had suited. So yeah, even ace queen suited is not even a squeeze. So that's
See
just
what
a
I said
bad.
when you have when you're super, super tight, when you're the 4-bet, cold 4-better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was expecting to see like a little bit more, but yeah, it's ace jack suited is 0. I mean,
Yeah.
none.
It's probably just because of, well, probably is because of, you know, the EP versus LP, you know, 3-bet, and then you're kind of like sandwiched in the middle. And
Yeah.
EP could always, you know, 4-bet kind of thing.
Yeah,
Can you
good
put
point.
yourself in
Yeah.
button? I think you might, I think ace queen falls in, and if you're, I'm sorry, can you put yourself in big blind? I think you're on big blind. I think ace queen's gonna fall in with no one behind. No, it doesn't.
Oh, no change at all.
That's it. I did not expect that. I would think it'd get bigger. Doesn't really.
But Skate brings up a good point. What if this raise comes from, let's just say, hijack?
Even its middle position, we're still very tight in the big blind.
It falls in now.
Okay, so yeah, so Skate's right. It really is driven a lot by the early position raise.
Yeah, but
So
we're still folding ace jack more than 50%.
yeah,
We want to run through and see if you could see, do you want to leave him in hijack? And because, I would imagine his queen jack suited is a fold, actually.
oh yeah, yeah. When we four bet, there's no way. I don't think
You're
there's
called
any-
for here, and he's in the middle of the sandwich. Yeah. Yeah,
Now
yeah.
there's no scenario where you can make up that he has queen jack suited on the call.
yeah, no.
Unless you upgrade to AI. Yeah, it's an interesting spot. I mean, so this villain made a polarization error, and he turned his top pair to a bluff, which is
I mean,
ridiculous against what your four bet range is.
maybe at the time, maybe I saw something, but I still don't think that's justifiable for ace jack suited.
You're called for pre.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Um, I'm not gonna criticize aggressive play.
right. Error on the side of aggressive is, better error, right? I guess.
Absolutely.
I thought I'd make Joey proud at least.
I'm still on the Joey bet or fold pre.
Good.
Yeah.
So like I said, I have tons, so I will stop as soon as anybody else wants to have some hands.
Well-
Let's check, see if anybody's put any hands in.
So yeah, who's got hands? So I've got hands, obviously. I've got 2 or 3 hands. You got hands. Derek, do you have any
Skate-
hands you want to share today?
Skate, you don't have any hands?
No.
Skate doesn't. He said chat. Joey?
No, I actually have 0 hands. No.
Okay, that's fine. So I think is it just me and Mike that have hands?
Derek.
Yep.
You play a lot of live. Do you know how to record your hands live so you can bring them here so we can talk about them?
I write them down in notes on my phone or in a little notebook.
Well, you should bring some of those hands to our study group.
Okay. I guess I need to put them into Easy Hand Reader or something like that.
You
Yeah,
could,
Derek, I think we've given you the
but
lead.
if you write it out neat enough, you could just do a screenshot of your notes.
Oh, okay.
And it would be better in Easy Replayer. But
Okay,
if you don't,
I'll put some together for next week then. Okay?
yeah.
Okay, homework.
And I've used Easy Replayer in the past when I didn't have Poker Charter. It's really easy to input your hands in there.
I've had some where I just gave up because it was a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's not a great software, put it that way, but it's better than nothing.
I'm gonna start using it because I've started playing a little bit live. So I'm gonna show up. I hope if I'm not lazy with some hands in Easy Replayer.
Yeah, I probably used it enough where I kind of figured out the little intricacies of it or whatever, but it got to be like really easy.
Yeah, I kind of despise the software to be honest, but it's better than nothing.
So Larry, do you want me to do like 3 hands and then you do 3 hands, and so we don't
Yeah,
keep
and then we'll take it from
back
there.
and forth?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep going here. Again, I don't know these hands or why I marked them, but I'll just go here.
All right, I'm sorry, Derek, really quick. I'm posting something in the chat. You
Okay.
should really click that and watch it.
Okay.
It's Jonathan Little's method for taking notes.
I think I watched a video about that.
Oh, if you've watched it, that's good. Cause like
Yeah,
if you
let me-
write them out in that format, I can look at it quickly and tell you and put the hand together.
Okay.
All right, so easy, obvious open.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh god. Come on, 13%. 13%er.
Either way, we're checking.
So yeah, we do check. Let's see what happens here. Not very many hands.
Yeah, this is really marginal, but I mean, I would tend towards calling one here. I think there's gonna be some folds in the group though.
Derek, Joey.
Call and then.
I think I split it with a heart. You may call with a heart, fold without a heart.
Yeah, I
That's a good
definitely
plan.
would fall with a heart. And this one I was torn because we do have some connectedness to the board in addition to our pair, but I'm sure I call. I'm sure, unless I marked it, because what do I do here? But I called, and I'm with you. I'm like, I don't think this is a great call. This is probably why I marked it in this spot right here. Oh, and then it could
Nice.
probably
Yeah,
gets
now-
either better
Now
or
you're not
worse.
folding to the turn.
That's a great card.
No, stop. Go back. That is a donking card for you.
Yeah.
We should put this in solve.
Mm.
It's important to see where our equity shifting is.
But it went to the flop 3 ways.
It did, but we gotta fold. We gotta fold on flops. So, I mean, I think
How mu-
that,
how much are you
and I
dunking?
think the value of looking at this in solve is that we understand.
How
Even
much you
if it
donking, Joey?
doesn't apply directly to this hand, we'll understand a little bit more about if this is a card that shifts equity enough.
Oh,
Pot's
Pot-
like
donking pot?
18. A donk bet would be like 30%, so like 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why small?
6, 7, huh?
Why not pot it?
Because when a draw hits and there's completed equity and we are blocking the nuts, that's why we have a draw now and we are blocking the nuts. That's why we get the bet. But when there's completed equity, sizing goes down.
Sizing goes down when equity gets completed.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
now I
Okay,
will
I'm
say
saying-
this, Joey's right, and solver never uses a large bet here. And I'll say
But
never, because it's donking,
if-
I've never
if
seen
it-
a large donking size on turn.
If it went check, we could overbet the pot.
Yeah, well, we're talking about donk situations here, right?
Right.
But I will say this, you guys, my favorite content on poker coaching is probably Jonathan Jaffe's sessions. And he had a donking session about a month ago. And when he went, he just uses Easy Replayer, actually goes through a ton of hand examples. And he had some situations in there where he chose to donk at a large size.
Well,
And I asked him about it. I don't remember him giving a clear answer. I was like, essentially, I don't want to be a solver bitch, but Jonathan, I've never seen the solver use a big size. Can we put this into our exploitative bucket? And he said, yes, don't be a solver slave. Sometimes we use a big size to generate folds when that's our goal. So he put it a little much more elegantly than that. But when we talk about donks, I would suggest you guys go back and watch Jonathan Jaffe's donking session.
like here I donk pot, but if everyone else is saying donk small,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Go back and watch what Jonathan says.
okay.
Joey's
We'll-
right.
we'll go-
Solver
We'll go
clearly
watch that.
never uses a big size, locked up equity. But there are some situations where Jaffe was calling for using a big size on turn here for your donk.
Because we're blocking the straight. If he's got
Eh.
10 jack, 10 nut, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9, 10 9,
He checked behind.
Interesting. Huh. So this becomes a situation of marginal, do we have marginal value or turn it into a bluff? I'd really like to have an ace here, obviously, but we are. So
If we
what
bet,
would he, I
if we
think we
bet,
could,
it's a bluff, right? There's no, you're not getting called by worse, right?
yeah, this is, betting is not, but we're not betting for value, we're betting for a bluff. I think I would bluff here a lot. I think he does have a lot of ace X that plays this way. Right? That just like stabs on flop, then like kind of gives up.
But what about the flush complete?
We have a lot of flushes that play this way. Right? We have a lot of flushes that call, check, and get him. However, the ace of hearts is important because that is the largest component of both of our flush completing draws. Most of them, not all of them, but most
Right.
of them are gonna have an ace in them.
It went check, check. And do you think we win or lose?
If it goes check, check, we got a good chance to win. We can't say we're always gonna win, but
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a bluff, yeah.
yeah, I think if we dunk the turn, we continue on the river.
Yeah. Okay.
But 10 jack will probably be one of the hands that call us down in solver because it blocks one of the nut high hands to straight.
Yeah, and you're right. I think we get more folds from somebody who's flatting here. When we bet, like you said, solver will call a lot, but population will overfold.
Yeah.
Right. So
Last one before we go to Larry.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you think the last one is worth putting in solver to see what our donking range is, if he has one?
How would we input
Yeah.
it? Put him on the button?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Now we could just do big blind versus under the gun one.
Well, we need to be out of position to him. It would have to be
We
UTG
are
versus
out of
button, I
position.
think.
Weren't we in the big blind on that hand?
No, we
We're
were
UTG.
under the gun plus 1 or 2 or low, almost low jack. 1, 2, 3, 4. Low jack minus 2. Under the gun plus 1.
I'd like to see if we have a donking range, but if you don't want to dive deep into solver, that's totally cool.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I'm all for it, but I'm just trying to figure out how we can make this.
Yeah, we'd have to put him on the button then.
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
like,
how deep were the stacks? What were the stacks?
Villain had not a full stack, but let's see, where was he?
Oh, never mind. Because you have to go over 100 to get calling
Oh, no.
ranges.
He did. He had enough. He had enough.
No, but not enough to go to 150, 200.
Oh, right. Yeah, no.
do you want, make sure you want to burn your 9 max. So if you get one a day.
Oh no, I'm good. I got that. Whatever it is, I do 9 max all the time.
Okay, cool.
So we were in this position here with 9s. Just curious to see if we're there's even a little bit of folding there, which I was wondering about. So we're gonna make the button call, and then everybody else fold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is clearly not, clearly, but I am trying to understand docking ranges more. Turn docking ranges more.
Just gonna pull this aside so I can reference it. 6 of clubs, 7 of hearts, and so we checked. Obviously, we would check anyway,
Yeah,
and he led into 2 players with 10 jack. So should we give him his half size pot bet here?
Yeah.
Okay. And so our 9s without a heart,
oh, call a lot more than I
Yeah.
thought.
our 9s without a heart heads up. is calling.
Calls. In a multi-way pot, I would fold without the heads up.
But
Yeah,
are we
yeah.
multi-way? And we're not multi-way at that point, right? Because the
No.
same,
Right.
But he did bet into 2 players as opposed to just
Bet-
one.
Betting in the 2 players, we have a different MDF,
sure.
which will drop some of the bottom hands out.
Okay, fair enough.
And we had specifically spade diamond, which is the worst on this particular
It's even
sim.
mixing folds heads up.
Yeah. So we get the 8 of diamonds, we get the open ender for us, and
Now, yeah, I was
No
curious.
donks. I was wrong with that.
Do you have turn reports?
no.
Okay. No worries.
What level do you have, Mike?
Whatever the least expensive version is.
He's starter, which is what I have. We both have the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So yeah, so we call so now why don't we just run this out? So we check. He checks back. And it becomes a question of
Do we
where
bluff?
do our bluffs come from on, well, he has very few checks. What was his combo?
10 jack of
And
clubs.
Jack.
Okay, so yeah, so he's been quite timid here. So yeah, our nines are not turning themselves into a bluff, nothing showdown, mostly. So WP, sir.
Yeah, minus the loose call.
Can we just see where our
Well,
bluffs
let me
come
ask you
from real
this.
quick?
It should be maybe against population, right? Is that it's a worse call, right?
Yes.
The flop call?
Yeah, the flop call.
Because also his flop bet wouldn't be as wide. Actually, in a solver, in a 3-way solver, he should have checked range to the button.
See you, Skate. Thanks for coming, man.
All right, see you guys soon.
The
Yeah.
Okay. Last one here. Till we get to Larry. I'm just mostly going to 3-bet this. I've never called, and I certainly don't think I'm going to be folding it. So that's pretty much my only play there.
We get a cold call
We're in the
of
Wild
3-bet.
West.
What's that, Joey?
We get a cold call of the 3-bet.
Yeah.
We're out of solver already.
Which is good. I like these to discuss what happens here. in
That's
these
good because we
Yeah.
don't have solver to say what's right.
Well, let's talk about his range, right? So I think the one thing about a flatter with 3-bet. Let's define their range. This isn't always the case, but I think this, we've gone over this before, but I think this is mostly middle pairs.
Not
Maybe some
aces,
suited
not kings.
connectors, maybe
Yep.
some traps, but mostly middle pair.
Yeah, mostly paired, ace king, ace queen, high broadways, big broadways.
So some people you think are gonna flat and not called for is king.
Oh yeah, I see it all the time.
Okay,
When I see a guy like this, I would absolutely consider him flatting ace king here.
yeah,
A
we already
lot.
got a high VPEP over 11 hands. Okay. So this is an interesting spot, right? I think you can mix here. I mean, what's your SPR now, right now? It's 5. I think I mostly small bet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to check to a white belt.
Is Queen 9 and Queen 9 should not be in anybody's range.
No, certainly not now.
But versus a weak player, queen nine could definitely be in range.
So can I make an argument for a trappy check here? And you guys can tell me if it's idiotic. So we clearly have a fish here. Now he may be loose passive, we don't know. But I estimate our equity here to be in the 90s. So we do have attention. We obviously do want to grow the pot. And this board has a lot of interaction with some of this range. But I'm still gonna stick with my range that he's got a lot of pairs here that don't have a set. And it would be just wonderful if he bets. So I'm gonna stick with at some frequency checking here.
Okay.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I do
checking is not out of the question here. Also, when you rate him white belt, like how many hands do we have on him?
Oh, not very many, but he flatted a 3-bet, and the fact that we do have 11 hands and he's 36-9 already starts to starts to tell me he's going to be put into a bucket,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
all right, let me just. I don't like using catch-all descriptors like white belt, fish, because they don't really tell you anything about the player. Or at least making exploits versus those players yet. Things that make more sense are he's a level 1 player. He's just thinking about his own cards. And then he's either loose passive. So
That's fair.
I think level 1 loose passive still fits into your white belt. I'm not arguing that your white belt is wrong. I just want to try to see if we can start moving away from better descriptors instead of fish, weak, or white belt, because that doesn't tell us anything more specific about that player. Because you can have a white belt who's aggressive or a white belt who's passive.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I do think that we can move towards more exploitative actions, but like in your defense, we don't know how to exploit that yet. However, I think we can make some assumptions, and I'm kind of a little surprised that I checked, because I would typically just kind of be a little bit more value sensitive to somebody who's flatting on the button, a 3-bet.
I, I'm
But
I'm
there
thinking.
is one argument to check when you look at his HUD stats.
Yeah, he in a
Look
little
at his
bit
aggression factor.
right here.
I'm gonna argue that his aggression, we've got a really small sample size to make assumptions about.
Yeah, it is a small sample size, but he has shown the propensity to want to bet post flop.
Okay.
So we did check.
And we all know this will check at some point in the solver.
Yes. And we got 90% equity. 90 plus. Sad face.
Yep, sad face,
Oh, happy face.
happy face.
Problem is that this doesn't improve him.
But we gotta bet now.
I agree. We've got to bet. We know he's going to fold 70% of the time, but we got to bet. SPR is demanding a bet.
Yep.
I also think when we look at connectivity, he's capped. He might not be able to call too big of a bet.
Yeah, I would small bet. I would small bet.
So I don't think we could start making big bets to go for stacks.
Yeah, I checked. I checked here.
No, I think, oh, well, if he's gonna bet.
Well, you got what you wanted. Now, this is the situation. So I don't, I might be too trappy. This is so, let's think about range. This is so composed of bluffs. Because this 8 didn't change anything. And he chose to check back on flop. I think we go full trap.
But that means we have to check behind on the river too, or check the river too.
It
Yeah,
does.
that's so scary.
But I
Right?
think that the nature of the board, the 8 coming, it just, we just can't, he just didn't improve. I mean, and so,
Okay, what if he had ace 8?
well, sometimes he is. We're gonna be very lucky then.
I think my thinking here is, and this comes from Andrew Brokos.
Yeah, I watched some of Broco's stuff.
When you're trying to get value, put him in a range like of hands that will call you. Like he misses so much on here. Are we going to try to eke out one more small bet from his like completely weak range? Or do we want to try in case he has something like ace 8 and will now commit his stack?
Well, you make a very good argument for targeting top of range because we really would love to see stacks in. I agree. The other argument is that in the rare cases he does have a straight draw here, we want it to finish. We want it to get there. However, yeah, I mean, we've got tension. We've got strategic tension between, we've got 100% equity. We've got strategic attention between wanting to get stacks in and it being very hard for him to have anything with the texture on this board, considering a check on flop.
I think if we go about 25, that will make 69 in stacks, and we'll have a little bit over pot left.
I think either is fine. I might check too much here. I might trap too much here,
Yeah.
hoping that he has some kind of straight draw, but I think either is fine.
Seeing the action so far, and I know we only have 11 hands.
One more
However,
question, Larry. If we raise to 25, is he folding a straight draw?
That's a very good question. Probably not. Okay, what were you saying, Mike?
given the action, the fact that I checked the flop, because I was with you guys, I would bet this like, I mean, not the flop, yeah, the flop. The fact that I checked the flop and then also checked this turn, I think I may have seen something already like that was related to this.
Okay.
That's just, I mean, I don't remember this specifically, but the fact that I've done this so far makes me lean towards maybe I've seen something.
Maybe aggression factor infinite does change it.
Yeah.
I've never seen, HEM doesn't show it. I've never seen that before.
And so I took the trappy line.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit more like my style would want to maximize, the magnitude versus
Yeah,
frequency.
sure.
So I think I must have seen something that made me take this line.
Okay.
So
Great card. Interesting choice.
Then, if you're going, why did you bet out here?
I'm not sure. Again, I have a feeling I just thought he was really aggressive.
So you're making a BSTI here.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
I don't mind a BSTI.
No, I think if you're blocking bets, freeze even aggressive players at times. I think he's going to have too many hands. He just flats here. That if you check, he's going to put in a full-size bet that you get to raise.
I was thinking he has a lot of 9x possibly, and that he would raise.
Then just check and let him bet it. If he has 9x, is he going to fold to your raise?
I'm not sure. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, you're right. He probably would bet it, right?
Because one of the things about blocking bets is it freezes our opponent.
But what about the times he doesn't have 9x?
And well, the reason we have, so you only want to get 7 out of them. This is why I wanted to raise the turn so we can make a full-size river value bet. It wasn't just, I wasn't just saying that on the turn. I was looking ahead, what is our best strategy for the river too? And that's why I say we raise the turn, this way we get a full-size river bet here.
Okay.
But the reason blocking bets are so effective with a hand like second pair is they freeze the other player where they don't raise that often, where it's actually common strategy to bet fold a blocking size bet because your opponents only raise with the nuts after you make a small bet.
So
I think a check induces more than a blocking bet.
yeah, check probably would. And so as we're doing this, and I get to this point, this is what I remember because this is so out of left field for not left field, but so out of character for me to do what I've done so far that I definitely had something on this guy. And because and not that this is right or not, but this is what happens. I do remember this. I remember that. And that brought back the memory that this guy was just seemed to be like really aggressive in
How
certain
many hands
spots.
did he play? Like, what was his hand count?
Only 11.
So you're dramatically adjusting your play because of what you've seen from Villain.
Yep. This is bringing back what happened here. And
But
I did obviously jam and he wound up folding. So he did have, it was just bluff. I was
let
assuming.
me ask you a question. If you check, does he still bet 30?
Probably, right? If he has a triple bluff.
Does he bet 30 more often if you checked?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think obviously what Mike is saying is that he's making player dependent adjustments here. And it worked.
Right. But I'm trying to get to the point where, yeah, he may player just because you make a player dependent adjustment does not necessarily mean that it was the correct adjustment for the player.
Okay. Well,
I'm just summarizing that
so you're saying
if we check, he's still going to bet 30 with his bluff range. We'll get the same result, but I believe he may bluff more often if we check than if we put a blocker bet out.
okay. Well, I think probably depends a lot on what Mike had seen previously, but I see your point. Your point is clear that you feel check is if we chose to take the trap line here, which we did on turn, over 1,000 hands, the check on river is more profitable.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Yeah, I can understand that decision.
Yeah.
Do we get the reveal?
Oh, you know what? Let's see what I don't know if I ever looked at this.
So yeah. So you read him like a book.
Yeah.
And if we raised the turn to 25, he would have called. But then he wouldn't have
Oh, we have
called
the
our
open
river
end right
bet.
now. Fair enough.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, those are as always good hands. Thank you, sir. All right.
Oh, I have lots more. I have lots more.
So I've got yeah. I mean, I think we have time. I can look at some more after these. I only have two, and then we can look at yours. So I got a tail and 2 river donk shoves. And you guys can tell me if
I gotta step away for like 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
okay. So this is a tale of 2 river dunk shoves, Mike and Derek, and the question becomes, what did I make a good hero? Right? This becomes a hero call, and the question becomes, is it a good hero call? So that's really where we are here. All right, first hand 9 backs, 10s. Okay, what are you guys doing here?
I think I would flat, unless you have like, any kind of reads, but I would typically flat on the button with 10s here, I think.
Yeah, I think I flat here. We're
Yeah.
guaranteed position. We certainly could turn this into a four bet.
Was that a 3-bet?
No, it
We've
was an
got a
ISO.
limp,
An ISO. Oh, okay.
a limp, an ISO. I put this into my flatting range. I think you can definitely go to 16 or 17 here.
I think with 4 players already in, I prefer to raise. I don't like
Okay.
calling.
So I went to um set mine mode here.
And not just set mining, by the way. I mean, you're gonna, there's lots of ways to win with tens in position. It's not just set mining.
Agree, especially in position. I don't remember how I played this hand in detail. Now this becomes the first decision point, obviously. 4 people in the hand. Got middle set. So I don't know what our equity would be here. In 4 ways. I know our equity heads up is plus 90%. Not including queens, which definitely is range. A very dry board. I think the texture of this board is I don't remember what I did. It's probably gonna drive us towards a flat here.
Well, if you remember when we were working in DTO, this would mostly be a flat. Because we're in the middle.
Are we? We're
No, relative position to the bet.
okay. Maybe I'm thinking about being in the middle. I guess see your point. We're in the middle because there's 2 more people to act after he takes a betting action. I see your point.
Yes.
Alright, so I think I probably flat here.
And if
Mike, are
flat's
you on
fine,
board with the flat or do you fast play?
I would probably flat there too.
Okay. We don't really want to see multiple calls. We only get
No,
so
when you have a set, you do want to see more calls. That's why you flat.
okay. So I mean I could see that. I mean I know I've got a lot of slow plays in position here with heads up. I don't know how much my equity is diluted 4 ways. This flop was really good. Turn's not too bad, so yeah, okay. Okay, I think I got a bet here. What size did you use here?
2E, which
So, I think of
Yeah.
2E of geometric bet size, it'd be very hard to figure out here, Joey. Cause we don't know how many callers we're gonna get.
I would estimate getting 1 caller,
Alright, that's it, that's fair.
which is I guess somewhere around 27 to 30.
No, it's got to be less than that, isn't it?
What's our stack to pot? It's like 1.4.
Got to be kind of small, like 18.
Why don't I refer to the handy guide that Joey made for us? So like a 2-to-1 is like on 2E is 60%. So here it's probably around half pot. So
If you make it 20 and somebody calls, the pot's
Or
going to
like
be
27.
90.
okay,
Yeah, but then you'll have 67 left.
so
Yeah, that's
I
good
got a little
size.
greedy. I want
That's
half
good.
pot.
When you're figuring it out in your head, I always start with like 30% of this remaining stack.
Okay,
Because that is usually fairly close to 2E. Not exact, but it gets you close.
so I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna get a dunk here. So our pot odds are gonna be about 27%, 25% here.
I think you played this great when you fist pump called.
So this is a pure call, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just got sucked out. So suck outs happen.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify this is a clear call. And I think
I
the
think you
one
played the-
thing,
I
the
think
one
you played the
recommendation
hand
you guys
pretty good.
had. So we like, just to go over this hand again, we like the flat, right?
Yeah.
The one thing maybe we could change here is me maybe not being so gun shy with 4 people in the hand and choosing a smaller size here. You guys would choose like maybe a 20 big blind.
I liked around 25. So your bet is not,
Okay, so I'm seeing difference now.
yeah,
Okay, just to suck out. Life goes on.
yeah. The only
right.
other option, we didn't talk about it, but go back to that hand real quick. Is shoving an option on that turn?
I think we have too much equity, man.
Because
Just-
remember DTO did have some overbets on the turn. It had 2x sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's probably very texture driven. I mean, we obviously have draws like his draw, which is ridiculous to have. That combo he had, but it's, maybe it's not too dry. I
Against
just think we have so much equity and we're 20%, 22% to vote up.
Yeah, but against population, are they going to call Queen X if you shove?
Some will.
And we're pretty sure at least somebody probably has Queen X with 4 people in the pot.
Well, let's clarify I'm open to the argument. Let's clarify the argument for shoving. Shoving is an argument for if one of these 3 fish, well, 3, 4, 2, 3 is not a fish, but someone here might overvalue Queen X if we shove. And also it's a draw heavy board. They can make the argument that we have too many draws here. And they can make a hero call with Queen X. Is that the argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we can, now does anybody have pocket jacks here?
Only 3, 4, 2, 3. Probably.
Yeah, because it was limp raise, so neither one of them
Limp
jack.
ISO flat, yeah.
So 9s and 8s are probably not likely either. But hands like Queen 10, Queen Jack, King Queen are possible in limping ranges.
I can kind of get behind it. I can see what you're saying.
I
It's,
don't
you
know.
know,
I don't know if it's better. I
Yeah.
honestly don't. But
it's kind of like with this
sometimes
much equity, I'm just like, he's actually, yeah, I see your point. Maybe a
Because
shove is a play.
sometimes going back and re-looking at a hand with a different perspective might lead you to a different thought next time.
Yeah, it's very healthy. I agree. That's why we do these, getting other people's perspectives. Yeah, so I do not tend towards fast playing, but I can see the argument. I mean, the argument is, well, his open ender should fold. Who knows if his open ender should fold to a shove, right?
Oh,
We're not results oriented. We don't care. But you know, with
question we have to answer. I'm sorry, I'm walking back and forth trying to get my son's dinner ready.
that's all right.
If somebody has a 10, do they call our 27 with it but fold to the shove?
Probably. Jacks, same case, I think. If 3, 4, 2, 3 has jacks, I can get behind
Yeah.
a shove.
Yeah. I think you see ace 10.
On turn.
Like as part of this range, like these ranges. I think somebody's going to call ace 10 here, king 10, king 10
Yeah,
of
we want to
hearts.
get calls from those. It can go either way. I mean, I think they both have value. All right, hand 2. Nice hand. And we get a flat, I think, yeah. So now we're multi-way. Kind of an interesting flop. We love it, but we hate it at the same time. King, queen is all over this. Now, I would argue not, I would not argue just not the four combos king, queen suited. I would argue that we also have king, queen off incorrectly called.
Sure.
Is that a fair one?
Yeah. Yeah. With population. Yeah. With the pool. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we could have 22% equity here, but often we're not. What are you gonna do here?
Betting. Bet a third.
20-minute dinner timer.
Bet a third? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Okay.
bet a third. I mean, sure, you can see king, queen in these hands, but I mean, you can't
You
just
can't be
narrow
afraid
it
of the
down.
monsters under the bed.
Yeah,
Especially because we can outdraw it. So, yeah. I bet a third. Two calls. Okay. What size now?
Hmm.
well, DTO was using pot size. But I think that it's just, that was probably too much of a simplification.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that was just simplified to just pot size bets and double, 2x on it. Like there was never ever a half pot or a third or,
No, there was when the
when it went check.
SP when the SPR got low enough for
Yeah, right.
2E.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did not put much credence in DTO sizing strat. Mainly because Affleck was having some multi-way sessions around the same time. Using Prometheus, and they were just much more nuanced sizing strategies.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
any other solver probably would.
Yeah, so, we like our hand. We do have draws that can call. What
I would
size?
prob I would probably in game, and I know that the timer's going off. I would probably bet half pot here.
So I think I I think I went over
I might go about 30.
30%, 30 big blinds.
Yeah,
So I split the difference between both you guys, I think, here. I went
That's-
28. I wanted to go 28 and I didn't want it to look as big as a 3 in the front, so I went 28. And this got tanked for a very long time, folds. This guy called, you won't believe his combo. YouTube, you won't believe his combo. Combat below. Okay, so
oh,
this
that's
hand, this obviously is a very unpleasant card. And he shoves. However, well, let me ask you guys first. What are you doing?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Are you indifferent AF?
yeah, I do feel like I actually like feel like can be a fold, but that seems so nitty.
Yeah, it's a tough spot.
sometimes in population, nitty pays.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
mean, before we fold this, we have to at least be able to eliminate it down to bluff catcher only. Because if he will value bet anything weaker, we have to call with this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I am gonna put this, he has nuts or nothing, is my argument. Now, my one argument so I used all my time back there. And I decided the ace of spades is a very important card. Right?
Yeah,
Let's think of,
it limits the flushes.
Good
let's,
point.
let's think about our action before.
Because
I
you can
three bet, there's a flat behind my three bet. He chooses to call. And I think that limits the amount of flush draws. They're gonna call a 3-bet when the ace of spades is on board.
I'm with you. And I also think now that if you do something, discount king queen because they're going to raise that at some frequency on the flop
Yeah, I think I thought that
Also,
in game
king
too.
queen-
because of the spades.
Well, the 9 didn't improve king queen, so we don't have to worry about that.
No, I'm saying on the flop,
King
you can,
queen's a,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that, yeah, I think it's important. I think multi-way with the flush draw. Unless he's got the royal flush draw. He's going to check raise at a very high frequency with his flopped nuts, either on the flop or the turn. So the way Peter Clark would talk about this is that a lot of people are going to choose facing this action on turn. A lot of people are going to choose fight or flight here with the nuts. And obviously with the nuts, they're going to fight and they're going to check shove or check raise
yeah. So I
on
think
this
you
node.
discount the king queen value hands. You can discount them, maybe not eliminate it, but heavily discount it.
Yeah. So I think king queen is discounted when he just calls here and shows no aggressive.
and he
aggressive
really
action.
shouldn't get here with 7-8.
And he shouldn't get here with 7-8 unless it's 7-8 of spades specifically.
Or king queen of spades.
Yes. So I decided that in game, this is a really important card.
But that does not eliminate his flushes.
It certainly doesn't.
When he bets like this, even though he has a small number of flushes, they are a percentage of his value bet.
Yeah, agreed. And then again, we can look at pot odds too, right? I mean, so somewhere around 27, 28% is what we're being offered here. So pot odds, question, calling 60 to win 160 or
I think that's a little
210.
over.
Sorry, say it again. I didn't hear you.
Let me just do that really quick. 63 plus 163.
But he shouldn't have any offsuit king of spades. He shouldn't.
We need somewhere around 22% equity.
So, yeah, I think there's a call with, I think it got to the point where I was like, I'd fold if this wasn't the ace of spades. Well, then I wouldn't have a set. If I had like jacks
Well,
here,
now if
and it
the
was
ace
like
was a heart and if the ace was a heart and the jack and 10 were spades,
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I think I would fold, but I think this ace of spades is really important. So I call and he's got nonsense. He had a gut shot, which he overvalued.
wow.
Well, he had an open ender, I guess, on turn. Oh, did he? Yeah,
No,
he had a wrap. He had the open ender, which he decided to turn into a bluff.
no, it didn't become wrapped until the river.
What? No, he had open ender on the flop.
Yeah, he's an open ender. 9-10 jack queen.
Oh, okay.
Got the wrap. So yeah. So this one. Now, what's interesting is that that's not that interesting. This is a slam dunk because we all had the same. He really shouldn't have that combo that much. But this is scarier because call is the most obvious draw is the flush, which got there. So yeah, interesting hand.
Yeah, I kind of like his play, to be honest. It's the pre-flop call that I'm really questioning.
Yeah, it's a fold pre.
Maybe
Um,
this player 2673 in the big blind was, a pretty bad player. Maybe he's expanding his range because of that.
yeah, maybe you're right. And then, the other part is I, some people make this play, but I think you'd want a flush blocker. But it's very hard to have it's very hard to have, an offsuit combo with the, actually before, with the calling a 3-bet here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't see what he could have, like a king of spades, offsuit king of spades. I'm just trying to figure out what he might have that he would call pre-flop with.
Well, let me ask you, let's go through that question again here. So look, the strategic option that Joey presented on turn. Small bet, call. Do we ever shove here? SPR is a lot different.
It's
about the
still
same.
very, alright, DTO did give us the 2x pot shove options. And this is fairly close to 2x pot.
Yeah, yeah, I think our equity's
I
just too
don't
great.
see it though. I don't see it with this hand.
I think our equity's too great, and 22%, 22% of the time, we're gonna have invulnerable hand on river. Barring quads. So yeah, I think I like this sizing more. All right, guys, that's all I got.
Good hands.
Yeah, thanks for going over it with me.
Yeah, we've been going almost 4 hours.
Is it 4? Jesus. Okay, I guess we
Yeah,
should call it.
it's almost 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Oh wait, we started late today. We didn't start till 12:30.
Yeah, wow. All right. Should we call it a day?
Yeah.
yeah, good
All right.
session.
Yeah, good
Good job.
session.
Hey,
Thanks,
Larry,
guys.
Larry, thanks for leading this and
Oh,
taking
no
over.
worries. I'm really glad that we've got a core group here. Hopefully great. Derek, if you're still around, great to have you join us.
Yep.
Well, come the end of summer, I don't know how much I will be able to be in this group because I'm going back to school.
Oh, wow. What are you going to study?
Theology, actually.
Wow, that's a big step. Good luck, man.
Yeah, I'm going to school for a master's in theology.
Are you going in Philadelphia?
It's in Wyncote.
Okay. Well, that's pretty exciting, man. I mean, I wish you the best of luck.
Are we eventually going to call you Father Joey?
No.
Oh,
Do you have a specialty that you're considering?
Yeah, theology. Oh,
So within theology,
Well, the choices were divinity, theology, or biblical studies.
okay. And I guess really, once you get more in, you'll specialize if you want to.
hey, that might bring you more run good too, right?
Point.
I am really seeing my time being really very limited once I start again.
Are
'Cause
you gonna continue to
I
work?
still have to work too.
Yeah, it's gonna be very tough with a kid. It's gonna be super tough.
So
Well,
like the next 3-4 years, I might not have time to do anything but eat, sleep, work, and study.
well, good luck. That's gonna be an exciting journey, though.
Wow.
Thanks.
We'll all miss you.
Well, if I do have time, I still want to stay connected,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm just planning out ahead of time. I may be really overwhelmed with the schedule I already have set up without adding poker into it.
Wow.